Alright, you saw the title, you already know what's up. The Pokemon Presents dropped and I went to write this immediately during my free period because frankly, talking about this kind of stuff is more important than my education. I mean, honestly, there were only really two things I gave more than a couple damns about, but Jesus H. crayons have those things earned a lot of my dams. First up, I want to yap about Pokemon Champions because this was an announcement I'm sure a lot of people were not expecting. There were rumors floating around about a new side game similar to the old battle games like Stadium and Coliseum, but I took those rumors about as seriously as I take my education. I was like, I'll believe it when I see it, and let's just say, just like the title of that one Smash Mouth song, All-Star. So we're finally getting what seems to be a new game in that style, complete with being able to transfer your own Pokemon into the game. So while Pokemon Showdown stocks may be in the gutter, it'll be really cool to have as a sort of Showdown side grade. Showdown can still be a quick way to test out team ideas that you come up with on an impulse while sitting alone in the room with your lights off, as well as hosting non-official metagames, while Pokemon Champions can be a sort of competitive Pokemon hub that's more accessible and understandable by way more people. Because this right here is not normal. This release is a good opportunity to fix that accessibility issue, which I think is one of the biggest pitfalls that competitive Pokemon finds itself in. I mean, Gens 8 and 9, they did make a lot of improvements when it comes to building teams. It's way easier than before, but do you really think little Timmy understands what the hell I mean when I say that I think personally it's better to run an adamant nature over a jolly nature on Speed Boost Blaziken? There's a lot that goes into this kind of stuff, so having all those resources available in an official release would do wonders in helping more people see Incineroar haunting their dreams. Something else I've seen people bring up is another quirk baked into competitive Pokemon's core, that being balancing and how it might be handled in Champions. More specifically, now that they don't run the risk of interfering with the experience of the filthy casuals, they can actually do balance patches now because by God, this game needs it. Unbalanced and broken stuff pops up in every competitive game, there's no getting around that. But nowadays, through the power of Wi-Fi, they can easily just get rid of that stuff. Pokemon has been more than capable of doing the same for over a decade now, but the only balance changes they make, if you even want to call them that, are fixing bugs and glitches with certain moves, abilities, and so on. And sometimes patching those out can indirectly end up nerfing something. Like I mentioned though, if they update the game to modified base stats or movesets, then that would interfere with people just playing the game normally. But since Champions is strictly Pokemon battles, yeah, I'd be willing to bet this is the primary reason they're making this game in the first place. I think it's also a safe bet to assume that official VGC tournaments and events will take place in Champions from now on, and because of that, a lot of people have been theorizing that this game will be a sort of new home for the traditional turn-based battles, and that the main series will pivot towards other gameplay styles, like the real-time battles that we know are featured in Legends EA, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, we're finally getting a dedicated game for all the Pokemon sweats out there, and the trailer was the first time they acknowledged Battle Revolution in forever, so that's a bonus. The soundtrack goes super hard, so I've used a lot of Battle Revolution music in my videos, as you might have been able to tell. The game itself, it's okay, but I still have a soft spot for it. Like I said, the music is awesome, and so is the announcer for the battles, and I gotta wonder whether or not they'll include an announcer in Champions. Another thing they showed off is that the game includes Terrestrialization and Mega Evolution. No words on if Z moves or Dynamax are included, but if you think you're going to be able to stand up to my terror-fighting adaptability boosted Mega Lucario close combat, your ass is mine. I mean, realistically, they're probably going to restrict mixing the different battle gimmicks, like you can Mega Evolve or Terra, but not both, sweetie. Ifrit can make decent balancing choices when they want to. It's just that sometimes, just like my make-believe ultra-powerful Lucario, when balancing the game, they just tend to go, you know, it'll be funny. But I think that's all I wanted to say about Champions. So let's move on to the meat and potatoes and a side of ketchup. And could I get a large fry with that? So let's move on to the meat and potatoes of what I want to discuss here. Our first real look at Legends EA. And I guess I should start with two things literally everyone got wrong during our initial speculation period. Like I mentioned in my last discussion video, there was a bit of a back and forth on whether the game was set in the past or future. But no one stopped to consider that it might just be the present day, and that's exactly what happened. Whoops. More specifically, most of the evidence we have suggests that it takes place some years after X and Y. We're gonna have a pleasant hotel stay while we do the whole urban redevelopment project thing. Now, based on the selection of starters in Legends Arceus, we all assumed that each of the starters in Legends EA would be from a different region. So let's see if our guess was correct. No. Yeah, so we got Chikorita, Totodile, and Tepig as our starters, and I feel like one of these guys has no idea where the hell he is. Listen, I love Tepig. It's definitely the one I'm choosing, and I want it on record that I think Tepig haters will not be surviving the winter. I just think the lineup is a little bizarre. Like, obviously, you can't really include Cyndaquil here since it was already a starter in the last game, but like, you also didn't need to include both of the other Johto starters, but I don't know, I guess it's funnier this way. So hold on, what were my starter predictions? By the way, my starter predictions are Piplup, Snivy, and Scorbunny. Yell at me in the comments. You know, I've seen a few Twitter zombies whine and kick and scream about the starter lineup unironically. Like, first of all, do you know how much of a bitch you look like right now? Second of all, just pick one and put it in your box if it bothers you that much. No one's forcing you to play the game with your starter, but I don't know. You may be the one pissing yourself over a trio of virtual animals, but maybe I'm the problem. Cool that Chikorita's getting the spotlight again, though. It's definitely the neglected little sibling of the Johto starters, which I do kind of understand, unfortunately. Like, when you see Chikorita and then you're also given the option between Cyndaquil and Totodile, I mean, do you really want to be that guy? Well, based on a lot of the reactions I'm seeing, a pretty sizable amount of people do want to be that guy, and I think that's all well and good, so it's whatever. But like I said, it is unfortunate that it's the most overlooked of the Gen 2 starter Pokemon, and since Totodile in particular is in the game, that might explain why I've seen a bit more positive reaction to that one. Out of these three, Totodile is definitely the one that people put the least energy into pretending to hate, but overall, the starter selection was really what caused the most, alright, whatever you say, man, type reactions. And even then, almost all of it was with people just making jokes about it, like with Connor Eats Pants calling it a DEI starter lineup. Okay, man. When I say a few people chose to complain about it so that they could feel smart and superior, I really do mean a few. Now let's get this out of the way so we can focus on the gameplay later. I'm very pleased to report the good news that the game does not look like total ass and that the visuals do achieve the bare minimum. I mean, some of the textures are still blurrier than your vision when I take your glasses and snap them in half because it's funny, but it's not as bad as the previous games, and from a distance, you don't really notice it. But the environments look nice, the lighting's appealing, the UI looks slick, and all the new visual flair when Mega Evolving looks really cool. And, okay, I gotta bring this up because I know what's on the back of everyone's minds. How do the trees look? Decent, actually. And if you're familiar with Pokemon on Switch, you know that the look of the trees is a good indicator of how the game looks overall. So since the trees don't look like butt this time around, that's a good sign. But now we gotta talk about what really matters here. The logo, the gameplay, which is both what I was expecting and also totally out of left field. So the whole Wild Zone shtick kind of reminds me of the Terrarium and Blueberry Academy, you know, man-made environments where different Pokemon live, which is probably the best way to go about it considering the setting. Like if I saw this thing just out in the streets, I'd actually have a good reason not to leave the house. But of course, as I briefly mentioned earlier, battles themselves look way different now. Beforehand, you just select the move you'd use and then go grab a snack while the turn plays out. Here, you're lucky if you even get a break to drink some water, because now battles are in real time. Different moves have different areas of effect, and you gotta move out of the way while also keeping the opponent in range of your own move so that you can actually win. Definitely going to be a pretty big shift to the gameplay. We kind of got a half step there with the Terra raid battles, but now we got the real deal, and I'm curious to see how this plays out. Especially since we already know they had to retool certain moves to make them work in this new real-time style. And I already spoiled it because I'm bad at keeping surprises. But I mean, does it really count as a surprise? It was in the trailer. You already watched the trailer. But they did show off Mega Evolution. Though no new Megas were shown. I don't know, maybe they're just scared to give us Mega Charizard Z. Also, I got a game theory of my own. Vinny's hair clip has a Pancham and Baneri. Baneri's Mega Evolution has a Mega, but Pancham's doesn't, and it's a Pokemon introduced in the same generation as Mega Evolution. So I have come to the galaxy-brain conclusion that based on this hair clip, Pangoro will be getting a Mega Evolution. Also, during Mega Evolution, the Pokemon's moves get this little icon next to them. It's a new particle effect when used. I assume the C+ thing is just going to be extra power or secondary effects, but who knows. And we finally have a confirmed release date, late 2025, but the Japanese trailer specifically mentions the fall, so it's probably going to be another November release, meaning another Christmas present for the kid you don't have. So yeah, all good news here. We got a new game that could really have a massive impact on the competitive scene, and Legends EA had a solid introduction. And if we survived a whole year with nothing but a single trailer with no gameplay, I think we'll live for now. If I had to guess, I'd say the next trailer will be shown off during the closing ceremony of the World Championships, and traditionally that's when they've shared some announcements, so look forward to that. And for now, I'm gonna go to the bathroom probably because I've been holding this pee in. So yeah. See ya.